Okay, I tried to tape this one time and then it was just too over here, and I have to condense it here because I feel like often when people like start talking about spiritual shit, it just turns into a bunch of jargon and it becomes kind of elitist and makes people feel stupid. Or like sometimes people will be saying crazy things, and because I think that they know more than me, I'll be like, you know what I mean? And then, that's not fucking, just because you said it all fancy doesn't mean that you said it right. You know what I mean? I can ask a million questions, fuck you, and I can disagree as much as I want. Okay, I'm gonna start over. So, my friend, Claudia, who is also my roommate, goes to church, and she likes to go every Sunday. She's Catholic, okay? I grew up Catholic. I don't go to church anymore because myriad of reasons. But every Sunday, the priests and the people, they come and they philosophize in something like a dinner type thing, I think. And they start talking about what is identity, what is life, what's the purpose of life, what is everything, right? And so she came into my room at like 12 a.m. and we started just philosophizing about life, and it was fucking awesome, bro. It was like I haven't had a chat like this in a while. Like 3 hours long about the purpose of life, right? And I had been talking to my other roommate, Sarah, about like, what is the purpose of life, right? She was kind of like this, what's the purpose of life? And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, sister. You know what I mean? But we were kind of like riffing, and then I kind of hit like a personal jackpot where I was like, well, what if it's this thing? So this isn't like, maybe this is an epiphany, or maybe this is an idea, or just something to entertain and something to think about. But for this video, let's entertain the idea that God is real, okay? I don't want to start getting so big into like, well, maybe if God is real and God is... For today, God is real, okay? Let's just talk about it in terms of that, okay? If I'm losing you, fucking whatever. That's fine. But if it still interests you, okay, cool. But for a long time, I was like trying to understand what is the purpose of life, as if it was an absolute reason that we all kind of had to find together. Like, if everybody had to come to the same conclusion for it to be valid, almost. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I was dealing in absolute ideas, right? This is when I was really into Buddhism and stuff like that, because Buddhists had this like very clear, the purpose of life is to end your suffering, to overcome your suffering. And it was so practical. It felt like somebody had paved the path for me on how and where I needed to go, right? And I ended up joining a cult. I was because everybody was like, this is the key to life. And I was like, fuck, I've been looking for that. Thank you. And lo and behold, I used that key to try to open my own door, and it fucking didn't open, all right? Because then they were saying the key to life is to overcome suffering, right? And the root of all suffering is desire. So the way to overcome your suffering is to rid yourself of your desire. Now, pin in that also, that's what the cult was telling me. This cult that was like a Tibetan Buddhist cult. I'm not saying that this is all Buddhist and that all Buddhists have it all wrong. Fucking, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just a girl. This is what they were teaching me, right? It was very absolute until I realized I'm not a pussy. Okay? No offense, Buddhist, but what you're saying is that you're so afraid of suffering that you're gonna dedicate your life to try to prevent yourself from feeling that suffering, okay? That's a separate video. That's a lot, okay? But, okay, if God is real, right? and the grand scheme of things is real, and the universe, blah, 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 blah. If God is real, then why did he make you this way, right? You don't have to worry about the ultimate truth, okay? Because all you have to worry about is what your truth is, if that makes sense. Like, if God is real and God made you specifically for a reason, you don't necessarily have to figure out what that reason is. You don't have to figure out what God is thinking. You just have to figure out what matters to you. Because if God planted a seed of something mattering to you, that's where your purpose is. Is it clocked to you? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you're looking around trying to find somebody to tell you what the purpose of your life is, well, then you got it all wrong, baby. You know what I mean? Oh, man, I wish I saw this video like 2 years ago or 1 year ago, but whatever. The key to your life lies in what matters to you, right? Because God planted that for a reason. Again, I'm speaking in terms of God is real. If you don't believe in God, I'm sorry, but this is just the best way that I could explain it right now. You know what I mean? You don't have to live, because you could be like, well, what I want doesn't matter because in the grand scheme of things, nothing matters because we're all going to die anyway. But you don't live in the grand scheme of things. You live in the context of your tiny little life that you're going to live through anyway. Whether you're going to die anyway. You're going to die anyway, okay? Whether the world ends or it doesn't end, or whether anything of it matters or it doesn't matter. You're right, it doesn't matter, but it does matter because your little life, you're saying your life doesn't matter, and I guess that could be reassuring, but it's also it does matter, because that, if God had a plan and then you're part of the plan, okay, then everything that matters to you matters. You know, do you know what I'm saying? Fuck. Oh my God. Okay, what else did I put here? So, if everybody is everything that they have ever loved and ever known and ever hated, right? If everybody is their own references, if every person is a little world and a culmination of all of the things that they have ever known, you know, that like this relates to like the way that I could talk about this is when it comes to like art, or like I guess music would be the best way to we're all our references, right? So every artist that you're seeing put shit out is inspired by like a lineage of everything that they grew up listening to, the ads that were around, the culture that they were surrounded by, the music that their parents listened to, the music that their friends listened to, everything that they found, the books that they read, blah, 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 blah. Artists are inspired by, and then they create their own thing, their own new thing that is specific to them, right? So, we could apply that to art, but it is also real to people and humans in the way that we live our lives. We are all of our references, right? So if you get too heady and you go, well, what's the point of anything? What's the point of anything? What's the point of life? I might as well not do anything because nothing matters, right? Even though it does matter to me, but I'm going to force myself for it to not matter because I'm a pussy and I don't want to live through any suffering. Blah, 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 blah. Maybe you could have been a reference point to somebody else, who could have been then a reference point to somebody else, who could have then been, you know what I mean? Maybe you were somebody's reference. Maybe you were going to be somebody's reference, either artistically or as a person. Right? You know what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? And then it's just so huge. This topic is just so huge. You are a million reference points, right? So if you shut yourself down the way that I did, and I almost, the cult almost fucking took me, bro, where I was like, well, what's the point of acting? What's the point of theater? What's the point of film if, like, nothing matters and everything is empty, and maybe I should dedicate my life to meditation and spirituality or fucking some shit. Thank God they didn't swallow me alive, bro. But then maybe that isn't the ultimate spirituality. Maybe my ultimate spirituality is to follow my heart and what matters to me. My ultimate spirituality is film, theater, acting, community, politics. That's me, bro. Fucking, I don't know what you want me to do about that, okay? That's just who I am, and that's what matters to me, okay? And if it doesn't matter to you, okay, then that's just the way that God made you. If it doesn't matter to you, what matters to me? Fucking okay. Fuck. You know what I mean? But to me, it does matter to me. But it does matter to me to make you care about what matters to me, okay? But I'm not God, you know what I mean? And maybe the whole live and let live thing. Now it's too much. We're going too far into this, bro. It's getting too heady. We should never rely on a single reference point in order to be ourselves. Okay, this is where I go back to the Buddhism thing. We should never rely on a single reference point in order to be ourselves, because you will never be that single reference point. If you're only ever relying on one, like me relying on one thing of, I'm a Buddhist now and I'm going to live the Buddhist way, right? And like my grandfather, he's like, I'm a Catholic now. I'm going to live the Catholic way by these ideals. You end up getting lost in the sauce and just being somebody's bitch, bro. Like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like, I was just somebody's bitch in a fucking cult. Yo, fuck, man. Like, you're just getting ordered around. It's obedience if we only rely on a single reference point. You know what I mean? We should be listening to a million reference points and then deciding for ourselves and trust our own judgment about what is right and what is wrong for our lives. You know what I mean? You don't need a one person to tell you what it is and how it is. You know what I mean? Or like one group, right? And that doesn't mean that you don't need that group. Maybe you do need that group. Fucking, I don't know, But alarm bells start to go off when it's just coming all from one place. You know what I meanies? I am interested in Buddhism. Okay? At this point, maybe not anymore, but I was. And that was the purpose of my life at that point, so that I could arrive at this point, because it mattered to me then, and then moment to moment it changed, and now this matters to me, and now the purpose of my life is this thing. The purpose of my life at that moment was to overcome my suffering, and then I overcame my suffering, and then I realized that actually suffering gives my life purpose in a way. So then I switched it up. You know what I mean? And the way that I cracked that code is that this thing started to steer me away from the theater, and then once I started seeing good theater again, and I realized how much misery goes inside of it and how beautiful that is, and that I'm brave enough to live through that suffering because it matters to me. It matters to me. That's my purpose. And I'll suffer through that. Fucking, I don't care. I'll lose a leg, I'll lose limbs. And I'm not kidding. For that. Is this making any sense to fucking anybody, bro? In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. To me, it matters. I wrote this. I live in my own little world, and this matters, and this is my truth, and it is rooted in my convictions and my references and my references. Okay, so it is rooted in my convictions and my references of morality, my specific past, my music taste, my worldview, and those of which have come across me. God made me this way for a reason. Okay? You know what I mean? It is important to be an individual. Oh, this is where I was going. Okay, that's where I was going. It is important to be an individual. I got an email. Okay. It is important to be an individual, and ultimately being an individual, not an individualist, is the ultimate service. Because if you are completely yourself, and every person is all of their unique references, everyone that takes bits and pieces of everything and makes it into their own, intentionally or unintentionally, that becomes a service to other people, okay? You know what I mean? It is so important for you to be exactly who you are without somebody telling you what to do, and be rooted in everything that matters to you individually, even if other people disagree with it. And be sure that this is what you believe, and check your work. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean you automatically always know what you think about a certain thing, but like ultimately rely on your own heart and that voice and the noises that coming from, and look at a million different reference points and like books and music and movies and talk to people with different backgrounds from all over the place, and yes, read the Bible, yes, read the Quran, yes, read about Buddhism, but also talk to a fucking atheist, and then I don't know, try breaking your own rules, and then if you don't like breaking your own rules, break the rules, go back to the rules that you liked, fucking experiment, try shit out, come to your own conclusions, not just with what sounds like it should be right, it could be right, try it out. Talk to people that disagree. But that will be you coming to your own conclusions and figuring it out and going on this voyage, which sounds really cheesy, is ultimately an act of service to other people in a way, because you don't know what the point of it will be, but one conversation could change a person's entire worldview. You know what I mean? Dude, I don't know if what I'm saying will make sense to other people. But this is why research is so important, and diversity is so important. An expansion is so important, not in like the colonization sense of the word, but like expanding yourself will open your world, like research and information and figuring things out and questioning things, and yes, suffering, bro, whatever, bro. You're gonna come and you're gonna suffer. Everybody suffers. You think you're special? Fuck you. I was trying to shut down this like natural seeking thing that I have, right? Of like asking questions, and everybody was just telling me like it's empty of a nature, don't even try to figure it out. It's empty of a nature, and the grand scheme of things, and in the grand scheme of things it doesn't matter, right? And then I was like me going like this, like my natural like seeking thing where I was like, I'm somebody who's like constantly looking for answers and constantly wanting to learn, and I don't know. I'm constantly like wanting to learn and like challenge things. I recently took my Enneagram test, and I found out that my that my Enneagram is called the Challenger, which is the Enneagram 8. If that gives anybody any fucking insight into who I am. I'm a natural seeker, and I'm naturally gonna question things and challenge things, and that's just the way that my brain works. But ultimately that can be of service to other people, and then that being your individual self, being your whole self, right, is where your self disappears. And it isn't an erasure of yourself, but like an extension of yourself to other people, right? So if God planted these seeds of curiosity, these very specific things that you are curious about for some reason, and again, I'm not interested in the why of that reason, but maybe somebody else will be interested in the why of that reason, but it's not my purpose, my life's purpose right now to figure out the why, and that might change. But God planted these seeds of curiosity for a reason. Don't shut them down just because the government or people want you to not ask questions. You know what I'm saying? It's always authority figures being like, don't ask questions. Don't ask. Don't worry about it. It's always, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And you're like, what do you mean don't worry about it? What do you mean? All I'm doing is worrying about it. And it's still beautiful. You know what I mean? I don't know. I do know, but I don't know. People's lives' purpose can change moment to moment. Okay. Also, this is something that I was thinking about, of like, it doesn't have to be the same thing for the rest of your life. Maybe you have a million different keys, right? You can figure out the key to life, and maybe the key to life is you finding out that you have a bunch of different keys to your life, and you can only do one at a time, moment to moment. There's something. Okay. Desire. Okay, I'm really just shitting on Buddhism today. Desire is natural. Desire is the root of all your suffering. Okay, but desire, I'm a monkey, bro. Fucking, is natural. Desire is natural. I want to eat. I'm hungry. Fuck, everything is natural. Desire is the root of all suffering. But then again, what is life without desire? And also, what is life without suffering? Right? There is something beautiful about climbing Mount Everest, suffering just to get to the top, right? And then a Buddhist will be like, you don't have to do that. Okay, but maybe I want to. Maybe I want to get frostbite and piss my pants and climb a mountain and like rip my muscles just so that I can see what the top of Mount Everest looks like. I know that I could take a helicopter there, but as the woman from Poor Things says, we must live through everything. Degradation, horror, pain, beauty, everything. Okay? If you get rid of your desire and then you just end up being satisfied with whatever, which is, somebody wants that. Somebody wants to be satisfied with whatever. And that's fine. You can be satisfied with whatever. If you want to live your whatever life, go for it. Live your whatever life. I don't judge you, okay? Life is really hard. That has its own validity too, to want to be calm. But maybe, just maybe, it is rooted in cowardice to want to avoid all suffering. Okay? I did leave the group chat for this cult, just saying. To want to stop, to want this to stop, for things to feel finally easy, right? Man. For example, I'll talk to you about Claudia. Claudia, she's an actress. But to make money, she's a chess teacher. and she still wants to be an actress, but the chess teacher is her day job, okay? She does her job very well. She's a great chess teacher. All of the children adore her, okay? She comes home from every day from work. I know all the kids' names. I've never met them. She has an impression from every kid. She puts in 110% to these kids. She does much more than is necessary, okay? Her coworkers will say, why are you doing all of that if it's not necessary, right? But to her, it is important that these children know how to move a pawn, okay? And that is information about her life's purpose. Because the ultimate truth is whether or not that child learns to move a pawn, we're all gonna die anyway, right? It doesn't matter really if the child learns how to move the pawn or not move the pawn, but the very fact that it matters to her means that she could plant a seed of passion in a child for chess, and who knows if she will be the teacher that inspired a kid to become the next grandmaster, okay? And you can say it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but our lives are little. The little things that matter to her, I wrote this, are all information for who she wants to be in this life, what she really wants, not what other people want for her, but what she wants, okay? What other people want for her is for her to put in a little bit less effort into teaching and focus only on acting. She's still gonna be an actress. She's still focused on that. This matters to her. She wants to put energy into that. Fuck. Maybe this matters too much to her, and God made it matter to her at this point in her life and the purpose of service to her for other people. Maybe this is, you know what I'm saying? Maybe she's the teacher that was so theatrical and made chess so fun that she ends up inspiring the next grandmaster. I wrote that. Every little thing matters. Everything matters. Everything matters, bro. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. It's so beautiful. And it's worth paying attention to. It's worth exploring if something matters to you. Okay? Even if other people are telling you that it shouldn't matter to you. You shouldn't worry about that. You shouldn't worry about if that kid learns to move that chess piece or doesn't learn how to move that chess piece. Why not? It matters to me. It doesn't have to matter to the whole world for it to matter to me. Catch my drift? I hope that this helps anybody figure out what they're doing with their life, because it helped me a lot, where I was like, huh. Hopefully that made sense. Okay. Thank you for listening.